Here's a number that should stop you cold. The average American carries $104,215 in debt. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student loans, a crushing weight that follows you into every decision you make, every vacation you don't take, every career risk you're too scared to accept, every night you lie awake doing math in your head that never seems to add up in your favor. But here's what makes that number genuinely infuriating. It's not just the debt itself. It's the fact that millions of people are actively trying to get out, doing what they were told to do, paying what they can, sacrificing what they have, and still watching the balances barely move, still feeling like they're sprinting on a treadmill set just slightly faster than their legs can carry them. And the real reason, isn't laziness, it isn't irresponsibility. It's that most people were handed a generic strategy designed for a fictional average person who happens to have perfect discipline, zero emotional triggers, and a spreadsheet for a brain. That person does not exist, and building your debt payoff plan around them is exactly why you keep stalling. Today, we're fixing that. We're going deep on two of the most powerful debt elimination frameworks ever developed, Snowball and Avalanche, and we're going to figure out, specifically and honestly, which one is going to work for you, not for a finance textbook, not for someone else's situation, for you, with your debts, your psychology, and your actual life. Because the best debt payoff strategy isn't the one with the prettiest math. It's the one you don't abandon by month 3. Let's start by talking about the trap, because before we discuss solutions, you need to understand exactly how deep the hole actually is, and why the standard advice keeps failing people who are genuinely trying. Imagine you're on a boat that's slowly taking on water. You've got a bucket. You're bailing, you're working hard, you're breaking a sweat, and from the outside, it might even look like you're handling it. But there's a hole in the hull you haven't found yet, and no matter how fast you bail, the water level keeps rising. That's what managing debt with minimum payments feels like. You're busy, you're technically doing something, but the system itself is working against you faster than your effort can compensate. Here's the math that makes that real. Say you're carrying a $5,000 balance on a credit card with a 24% APR. You pay the minimum. Let's call it $100 a month, which is roughly what most issuers require. How long before that debt is gone? More than 8 years, and over that time, you will have paid nearly $4,700 in interest on top of the original balance. You didn't borrow $10,000, you borrowed $5,000, but you chose, through inaction and minimum payments, to pay back almost double. That's not a debt problem, that's a strategy problem dressed up as a math problem. And it gets more insidious than that. Credit card companies are not neutral parties in your financial life. The minimum payment structure is deliberately engineered to keep you in the relationship as long as possible. The longer you carry a balance, the more profitable you are. The system is not broken. It's working exactly as designed. The question is whether you're going to keep playing by rules that were written to benefit someone else. But here's what the interest rate conversation misses entirely. Debt isn't just financial, it's psychological. It lives in your body. It's the low-grade anxiety you feel when your phone rings and you don't recognize the number. It's the way you slightly disassociate when someone at dinner suggests an expensive restaurant and you're not sure if your card will clear. It's the reason you avoid opening your banking app for days at a time, because the number waiting for you there makes you feel something between shame and helplessness. That's not weakness. That's a completely normal human response to financial stress, and any debt strategy that ignores it is going to fail you eventually, no matter how mathematically sound it is. So before we talk about which method to use, we need to acknowledge what we're actually dealing with. Debt payoff is not a math problem with a human attached. It's a human problem with math involved. The distinction matters enormously. Now let's get into the two frameworks, and let's go deep, because the surface-level explanation of these methods is everywhere, and it's not enough. The Avalanche method operates on pure mathematical logic. You list all of your debts, you identify the one with the highest interest rate, and you throw every extra dollar you can find at that debt first, while paying minimums on everything else. Once that debt is eliminated, you take the money you were sending to it and redirect it to the next highest rate debt. You work your way down from most expensive to least expensive interest rate until everything is gone. The financial case for this approach is airtight. Interest is the mechanism by which debt grows. The higher the rate, the faster it grows. Attacking your highest rate debt first means you're slowing the overall growth of your debt burden as quickly as possible. Over the full repayment period, you will pay less money to get to zero than you would using any other method. If you run the numbers cleanly, the Avalanche method consistently saves people hundreds to thousands of dollars compared to paying debts in any other order. That's the argument, and it's a good one. The math does not lie. Here's what the math doesn't tell you. Most people don't experience their debt payoff journey as a spreadsheet. They experience it as a feeling. And the feeling of grinding away at a large, high-interest debt for 6, 8, 12 months, watching the balance inch down while you sacrifice and restrict and delay, is genuinely demoralizing, especially if that high-interest debt also happens to carry a large balance. You're doing everything right. The algorithm says you're winning, but nothing has been deleted. No account has been closed, no balance has hit zero. And the human brain, which craves evidence that what it's doing is working, starts to lose faith. This is where people quit, not because the avalanche is a bad strategy, but because it requires you to trust a delayed reward in a world constantly offering you immediate ones. And most of us, when stressed and depleted, are not at our best when it comes to delayed gratification. The Snowball method was popularized by financial educator Dave Ramsey, and its logic is psychological rather than mathematical. You list your debts in order of balance size, smallest to largest, and attack the smallest one first, regardless of interest rate. You put every spare dollar toward that smallest balance while making minimums on everything else. Once it's gone, you take the full payment you were making on it, minimum plus extra, and add it to what you're already paying on debt number 2. Your payment grows, your momentum builds, your snowball gets bigger with every debt it rolls over. Mathematically, this approach costs more. By ignoring interest rates in favor of balance sizes, you're sometimes allowing expensive debt to compound while you eliminate a cheap one. Depending on your specific debt profile, this could cost you anywhere from a few hundred to a couple $1,000s extra over the full repayment timeline. But here's what that math misses. A strategy you stick with for 4 years beats a strategy you abandon after 4 months every single time. The snowball method works because it's engineered around how humans actually behave, not how economists wish we would. It delivers wins, real, tangible, account is closed wins, early, often, and in a way that rewires how you see yourself in relation to your debt. That last part is crucial and almost never discussed. When you eliminate your first debt, even a small one, something shifts in your identity. You go from being someone who has debt to being someone who eliminates debt. That's not a trivial distinction. Identity-level change is the most durable kind of behavioral change there is. When you start to see yourself as someone who wins this particular battle, the battle gets easier, not because the numbers changed, because you changed. Now let's talk about the part most financial creators leave out, what to actually do with this information. The first move is one that sounds simple, but most people haven't done it completely, and that incompleteness is costing them. You need to sit down this week, not next month, not after the holidays, and write down every single debt you carry, the full balance, the interest rate, the minimum monthly payment, the lender, everything on one page where you can see the whole picture at once. This is uncomfortable. There's a reason people avoid it. Looking at the complete number, all of it together, added up, feels worse than carrying it in mental fragments you never quite add together. But that discomfort is the beginning of something important. You cannot make a real plan around a number you're unwilling to look at directly. The audit isn't just a logistical step, it's an act of financial courage, and it changes your relation to the problem the moment you complete it. Once you have the full picture, the second move is to choose your method based on your actual psychology, not on what sounds most responsible or what someone in a comment section told you to do. Here's an honest framework for making that choice. If your highest interest debts are also your smallest balances, you're in luck. The Avalanche and the Snowball point you in the same direction, and you should absolutely pursue that debt first. If your highest interest debt carries a large balance that will take a year or more to eliminate, and you have smaller debts you could wipe out in 2 to 4 months, seriously consider starting with Snowball. The wins you'll generate early will sustain you through the harder middle. And if you have a history of starting debt payoff plans and abandoning them, if you've been here before and know that motivation fades for you, then Snowball is your method. Full stop. No debate required. Design your strategy around the version of yourself that exists on a hard Tuesday in month 5, not the version of yourself that's fired up watching this video right now. And if you have any debt carrying an interest rate above 20%, which describes most credit cards issued in the current rate environment, that debt is expensive enough that the mathematical argument for Avalanche becomes very hard to ignore. Every month you delay attacking it, it grows. The difference between tackling a 24% APR debt immediately versus letting it sit while you clear smaller debts can represent thousands of dollars over a multi-year payoff period. In those cases, a hybrid approach often makes the most sense. Use Snowball logic to generate 1 or 2 early wins on genuinely tiny balances, then pivot to Avalanche to neutralize the high-rate debt before it does serious long-term damage. The third move is what we call finding your phantom payment, and it might be the single most underutilized tactic in personal debt elimination. Most people approach this problem by asking, "Where can I find extra money?" and quickly run out of answers because their budget already feels tight. The better question is, where is money already leaving my life that I've stopped noticing? Research consistently shows that the average person is paying for $200 or more per month in subscriptions and recurring charges they either forgot about or no longer actively use. Streaming platforms, app subscriptions, meal kit services, software trials that converted to paid plans. These charges often live in the background of a bank statement, quiet and easy to overlook precisely because they're small individually. Find them, cancel the ones you're not actively choosing every month, and automate that recovered money directly to your target debt before it can have any chance to become discretionary spending. And when unexpected money comes in, a tax refund, a bonus, a side hustle payment, a gift, resist the pull to treat it as found money for spending. You worked for it. You deserve something. Apply 80% of any windfall directly to your debt target, and let yourself use the remaining 20% however you want. This structure keeps you honest without making the process feel punitive. Sustainable payoff plans account for human nature. Rigid ones collapse under its weight. There's one more thing worth saying because it rarely gets said in conversations about debt strategy, and it matters more than any specific tactic. Debt is not a moral failing. It is not evidence that you're bad with money, or that you made irredeemable decisions, or that you're fundamentally less capable than people who appear to have it together. For most people carrying significant debt, the path there involved some combination of medical costs, stagnant wages, predatory lending practices, an economy that makes it structurally difficult to build savings before emergencies hit, and a financial education system that taught most of us absolutely nothing useful about how money actually works. You did not arrive here in a vacuum. You arrived here in a specific economic context with specific tools and information, or the lack of them. What changes now isn't your worth, it's your system. The Avalanche will save you more money if you execute it perfectly from start to finish. The Snowball will keep you in the game when perfect execution fails you, as it fails everyone eventually. The right answer is the method you'll actually complete, applied consistently, protected by automation wherever possible, and adjusted intelligently when your situation changes. This is a long game. Debt built up over years doesn't vanish in months, but the trajectory can change, genuinely and permanently, the moment you stop managing debt and start eliminating it with a strategy that accounts for who you actually are. Your action step this week is specific. Complete your debt inventory. Every balance, every rate, every minimum. One document, one honest look. Then pick your method and make one automated extra payment, even if it's just $25 above the minimum on your target debt. Small moves executed consistently compound into large outcomes. That's true of interest working against you. It's equally true of momentum working for you. Drop in the comments, are you going Snowball or Avalanche? And if you've already paid off a debt using either method, tell us about it. Those stories matter more than you think, because someone reading them is exactly where you were when you started. Share this with someone who's been trying to figure this out alone. And if you want to go even deeper, the next video breaks down how to build a zero-based budget that actually holds up in real life, not just on paper. See you there.